let's continue on and just sort of let you know we're going to begin with breaking news here. The CNN, the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Politico, all blocked from attending today's White House gaggle with Press Secretary Sean Spicer, while more conservative outlets such as Breitbart, the Washington Times, and One America News Network were allowed in. Ari Fleischer is with me, former White House press secretary for President George W. Bush. Ari, as always, great to see you.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right, you just heard the reporting. You heard Brian Stelter's thoughts. Yeah. You stood at that podium. You hosted many a gaggle. What are your thoughts?
I think there's a crucial distinction to be made here. Press secretaries need to meet with all press. I think this is unwise and counterproductive for a press secretary to do, because your relationship and your obligation is to all the media. But beyond that, face it, there is nothing unusual about presidents meeting with self-selected reporters, and White House staffs do it all the time too. Regularly, the staff would have meetings with conservative journalists. I'm sure in the Obama administration, staff had meetings with liberal journalists. So you have to separate the two. This is not a threat to the First Amendment. This is not the hyperventilation issue deemed by statement from the New York Times that it's never been done before. Maybe not by the press secretary, but it's been done regularly by White Houses.
But there was no briefing today.
Sure, that's because the president made a major speech. Anytime the president makes a major speech, the press secretary does not brief. Now, they gaggled, which is an off-the-camera meeting in the press secretary's office. And like I said, Brooke, I think as a role of the press secretary, it's unwise, and it will be proved to be counterproductive to a press secretary to pick and choose what reporters they meet with. The press secretary should meet with all. But stop making this as if, as some reporters have done, it's a terrible violation of the First Amendment, because they've acquiesced already. The press used to regularly let Barack Obama handpick columnists to have meetings with. I don't remember them saying every columnist has to be in that meeting. So there's no principle here that's a high ground principle saying White Houses can't pick who they meet with. Of course White Houses can. I just think it's a personnel issue more than anything else. It's going to hinder the relationship between the press secretary and the press corps. And that's why press secretaries have an obligation to everybody.
I think the context, though, of what, what's happened is important. You mentioned the president gave a speech. He did. He gave a huge speech at CPAC. And in that speech, Ari Fleischer, he doubled down when he called the media the enemy of the people, also saying the media doesn't represent the people. Play the sound and then we'll talk.
A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people. And they are. They are the enemy of the people. Because they have no sources, they just make them up when there are none. They're very dishonest people. In fact, in covering my comments, the dishonest media did not explain that I called the fake news the enemy of the people, the fake news. They dropped off the word fake. And all of a sudden, the story became the media is the enemy. They take the word fake out. And now I'm saying, oh, no, this is no good. But that's the way they are. So I'm not against the media. I'm not against the press. I don't mind bad stories if I deserve them. And I tell you, I love good stories.
So part of what he said, and I'm quoting him, the media doesn't represent the people, it never will, and we're going to do something about it. It's one thing it's one thing to complain, but do something about it. Do something about it.
Yeah, but here's what the truth is with Donald Trump. The press is paying attention to what Donald Trump says and not what he does. Donald Trump can speak in an offensive, over-the-top, very tough manner about the press corps, but then look what he does. He has made the press corps interesting again.
Of the United States.
But hold on, Brooke, let me finish. He speaks in an offensive fashion. I get that, we all do. But then he meets with the press corps almost more than anybody I can think of. He held a marathon news conference, open to everybody, took questions from everybody. He's done sit-down interviews with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Today Show, 60 Minutes, Time Magazine, you name it. He is tremendously accessible to the press. He came back on Air Force One and did his own on-the-record meeting with reporters on Air Force One, almost unheard of.
I hear you, Ari, but let me just jump in. But you would disagree with him. You would disagree with him in calling the media the enemy of the people, yes?
Oh, I already have. I tweeted that. I said that publicly. Yes, I think that's too high. It's wrong. They're not the enemy of the people. But my point here, Brooke, is the press has this tendency to think everything is about themselves, to hyperventilate. The First Amendment's under threat because of the things he says. But then they ignore all the things he does that are tremendous for the media. He is making journalism interesting and great again. It's a fascinating time to be a journalist because he's such a fascinating story, and he's giving the press so much access.
Hey, I love my job, but I also do think that words matter. But I hear you loud and clear.